Thank you for joining us on Worldwide Slot Car Chat, episode 82. Got a good group of people going on here. We got Gaza, Graham, John, Petrucci, Leo, Alan, John, Frank, Jeremy, Garth, Steve, John, Jim, Martin, Mike, and Luff, and other people in the no camera list. As usual, we'll start with show and tell. So if you have a show and tell, raise your electronic hand for me and I'll make sure I get to you. And if you want to just wave your real hand, I'll try not to miss you, but John has an update on something, hopefully. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I do have an update. Let me share screen. I know you folks are familiar with this, but we're really close to pouring rubber. Actually, I was downstairs just pulling up the proper tape to do the windows and looking to see if I have enough clean clay. And there we are. Here are, of course, we're not using that interior, but we're going to use this interior. These basically are the parts that are ready for rubber for our 935 project. And I think it's going to be really neat. Let me just continue here. So there's the drive. Oh, I'm going to do the driver and the head as separate parts, if that's okay, folks. And that way, if you want to alter the head or do something to it, you don't have to worry about mucking up the body. And as you can see, I think the fender really, and again, Leo, thank you so much for these parts. I think it actually bonded on really quite nicely.
Looks great.
Thanks very much. The other question I had for you folks is I'm going to cast the glass for the rear lights, but I think the Scalextrics molding already has them in it. But I'll supply those parts anyway, and you folks, whoever's building, do as you see fit. And there's sort of the mock-up of the interior as per Dennis's request, so it fits. There's the side glass, the rear wing top that will be cast separately as well. There's the sort of front view of it, steering wheel, and of course the whole tree of glass. I may keep the runners on simply just to help with the resin flow. I'll see how everything sort of casts up, but I may have to separate some, I may have to leave some. It depends, but that's generally how it's going to look. And I think we're in fairly good shape.
And then
brilliant job.
Oh, thank you very much. I also have just for Frank, and I know Dennis isn't here. Let me just, sorry about this. There's one more project that we were talking about, and that is the wonderful 2G that Frank and Dennis provided for me. And it is also ready for molding. I just have a couple of photos that are up there. Yeah, oh my goodness. Let me just get this going. Okay, so all of the parts are in an appropriate container, and I have to, there we go, sorry about this. There we go. So as you can see, it cleaned up really well. The holes turned out nicely. It's going. I think it's going to cast really well. So it's going to be a really nice little body. And Dennis has requested no sort of posts or any sort of blocks on the bottom. No problem. That's the way I'll cast it. And the other thing too is I can make different pours for the interior. So if somebody does want posts, I can add posts and just have it as a second or third pour, and then do it to whatever people want. So far so good. So that's the update. I also did a longer update on my channel if anybody wants to see it. It's about not 53. It's only 13 minutes long. So
yeah, and put the link there in the chat, and I will make sure it's in the video description. So if you want to see more detail on John's project updates, click the link in the description and head on over there. And if you're not already subscribed to John's channel, absolutely do that. Got a lot of great content on there.
And I wore the appropriate shirt today.
Oh my goodness, thank you. Mine is in the wash.
All right, perfect. Thank you, John. And I think Jeremy had his electronic hand up next. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Hey guys. Greg showed me the Link, what they're called, Greg, like
Lex locks.
Lex locks for Scalextric tracks, so you can kind of lock your track down. And I got thinking back when I built my track originally, we didn't have 3D printing. So I started working on a light timing system for people that I'm trying to make it a little easier for people. So what I've done is I've designed some parts you probably can't see that you then plastic glue underneath your track, and it will fit the 5mm kind of standard LED lights on this side, so it lines up every time. And then I know the second problem is when you have your overhead, you got to get that laser beam lined up perfectly. So drilling a 1-inch hole in here, I've designed a little guide so you can kind of pivot angle.
Nice.
And then once you get it set and tested, you just add a drop of glue and it should sit in here perfectly after you get, this mounted down. So I'm just working on that, and I don't want to go into 58-minute details about it, but if you have like suggestions or comments, maybe later, if we have time afterwards, we'll take a look and see. Because like for me, I wanted to make it easy for people who use photo. What are the photo synthesis? I can't remember what they're called.
Photo transistors.
Photo, yeah. So, or to use the laser LED, like the 940 NM beam. So I'm just trying to make it compatible for both people to be able to use that, and then to make it compatible for anybody. Because that's one of the hardest things I found is people who set up their light timing. It's always like jigged together and drills holes here, and you hope that it works. So hopefully, if somebody can standardize this, it'll make it a little easier going forward. That was it.
I think that's ingenious. Like you said, most of the tracks.
Well,
not
having a standardized
tracks,
gimbal
but
makes it really easy.
Being able to aim it, because one of the guys has, the standard, the red LEDs pointing down to the sensors underneath the track, and when we race at his track and we do fueling, if you're not properly blocking the light, then it doesn't work properly, right?
Right.
And the problem is that some of the lights are they all kind of make a spot on the track that's fairly large, but some of the spots are mostly ahead of the sensor, and some of them are mostly behind the sensor, and some of them are right on. So when you're racing, you're actually, the only thing you can see from the driver's station is whether there's red light on top of your car. But in that case, when your car pulls up and there's red light on your car, it might actually still be seen by the sensor behind your car or in front of your car. But if he could easily aim the LEDs so that the spot is exactly where it needs to be centered, so where your car is under the light and blocking the sensor.
Yeah, that's the problem I'm hoping to solve with this. And I've got most of my parts. You know how you design a part once, you go back and you're like, oh, I should read it and move it a millimeter over. So I'm like in my 8th iteration so far, but I think I've got it nailed down. So hopefully it'll work on anybody who's plastic track. I don't have any solutions for any wood tracks yet. But
yeah, I was going to say, is that going to be universal for different plastic tracks?
I think so, because what I've done here is this piece here, if this piece here would fit on Scalextric track, you want to be closer to the lane and glue it in. And then this gives you places where you can bend your leads if you want the leads to lay flat, and you would glue this on and then just drill a 3/32 straight through, and that will fit the standard 5mm LED in that hole, and it should lie flush. But if you don't have this dimension here like Scalextric has, then just this one here is just a square corner and then a round edge. So you can find different places to put it, but obviously you want it to be as close to your rail as you can. I didn't find a good way to put it directly into the groove, because I've never seen those work very well. So he's always hitting those or something. So I'll have it sorted out. And I'm waiting for that glue to dry, because you want to make sure that this part here, once it's locked down and stable, then you start pivoting, because you don't want this to be jiggly moving around. So I've got glue drying right now. But once it's glued in tonight, I'm going to go out and run some tests on. It's pretty easy to test it with Race Coordinator. It's got the light that tells you green. It's not, and then when it turns red, it's like the beam is on. So I'll let you know how it goes.
Awesome, good stuff. Looking forward to that. Thanks, Jeremy. And Gaza, you had your hand up. What's going on in your neck of the woods?
Oh, just doing some scenery lately. I don't know if I can get this. Oh God, here we go.
Open the file first. Click share.
There we go. Yep.
Oh,
yeah,
now we're seeing your folder though.
Yeah, I know. Hang on. I'm getting there. All right. That's one of the. Can you see that?
No, we're looking at the folder. So you got to stop the share. You got to open the picture first, and then
okay, got it.
Share the picture in the program that it's opened into.
All right. Okay. Oh, I don't think I'm going to get this.
You get it. You'll get it.
All right. No. Forget it. Go somewhere else.
Come on.
Forget it.
All right, we'll
too early in the
swing back
morning.
around. I mean, again, open the
It's too early
picture,
in the morning.
right? Make sure the picture is open in whatever picture program is going to show it.
Yeah.
Then come back to Zoom, click share, and you should be able to choose the picture and then share again. And then from within that program that's showing the picture, you can usually scroll between whatever pictures are in the same folder.
You might find. Let me do it. Okay. Might get back into Zoom.
Alt tab will get you there.
No.
All right, we'll go on to Graham while Gary messes around with that. Graham, what do you got to show and tell today? Some progress on your track?
Okay, yeah, guys, there we go. Let me just, I should have this right. Let's hope so. Right, let's find the little button and hit screen share. Nope, has that all gone wrong again? Nope.
Make sure your picture is open somewhere.
Yeah, it is open, but
Then you come back to Zoom, you click share, and then it pops up a window. You click the window showing the program. There we go. And then finally, a share button down at the bottom. All right, that's your layout plan.
Yeah, okay, right. What I'm going to do is I'll just forward this on here. Right. I don't know if you can see here. Can you see that the corner is banked? Does it show that well or not?
Yeah, very slightly.
Yeah, that's actually quite a bit, but no matter how I angled my camera from my phone and everything, it just doesn't show, and it kind of doesn't do it justice. You can see all the junk and the test pieces in the background, but I'm just going to quickly flick through it because, right, just to get everyone up to speed, it's a 4-lane routed track. I've used 12mm MDF. It should be around 130 foot long. Butt in anyone if you want to stop me at any time and ask any questions. The lane spacing is 4¼ inches. I'll be using braid, non-magnetic. And I'll leave it at that. Right, I'll flick through some pictures here and stop me at any time.
That's a little bit more apparent.
Yeah, you can sort of see I've a couple of little cars in the background there, GT40 and an old Austin Mini, just to sort of give you a bit of effect and scale.
Yeah, and 4.5 inches, you can run damn near any car on there you want.
Yeah, yeah. Again, I think Dennis and would it have been Chris last time mentioned about that, the option of the lane spacing. So, okay, let's just move through these quickly. Can you see the bank in there under the bridge? Does that sort of show that well?
Yeah, looks like a few degrees there.
Yeah, yeah. Again, it's very crude. I've just used bricks, weights. You'll see one of my dumbbells on the left there on the floor. Whatever I can find, if it weighs enough, it'll do.
Yep.
It's a rewarding but painful process because if you see the little triangle legs down the bottom, you'll see lots of little pieces of wood where I've been wedging it up, banking it a bit more, putting the weights on, leaving it overnight, come back in the morning, and the track has moved.
Yep.
Pull them out, start again. This has been going on for over a week now.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's just flick through this just to try and give you a bit of sort of flavour of it. Yeah. More bricks, not terribly exciting. If you look here, because obviously if you go around the left-hander and then back up again into the S's, you can just about see the elevation creeping in, and it's trying to keep it, as you say, on the right side of the canvas, slightly banked or flat, because the last thing you want is the cars flying off. So yeah, it's more or less just to give you an idea of where I'm up to, guys. So
yeah, looks great. Keep it up.
Graham, sorry to interrupt, but if you ever need a name for that corner, you could call it Mason's Corner.
Yeah.
I don't catch that reference.
Bricks, Mason.
Oh.
Yeah. They're great when you bang your fingers together between them. Oh yeah.
Oh no.
A nice little blood blister, as I've found out. There's just one little bit I'll quickly flick through here. Right, come on, where is it? I will find it in a minute. Here we are. Right, if you look along here, can you see it's like a bit of the edge of the track? It's like a wavy line.
Yep.
Show. Obviously 12mm MDF, it's not the strongest thing in the world, but it is manipulatable. You pull it about and do your things. Has anyone got any suggestions on there how I can straighten out? I've tried propping bits of wood under one side to like pull out some of the little ridges.
I mean, other than a nice long piece of lumber, you know, an actual straight piece of lumber, but you know, those are almost, you know, those aren't going to necessarily be perfectly straight either.
Greg, you've got it. I'm a sort of ex-carpenter, not very good one, as I said before.
What
Why
if
didn't
you
I think of that?
take,
Yeah, if I put it in on the edge of the track there and just hold it up, pin it in all the way along, then it should pull it straight, shouldn't it?
I mean, you'd
Uh,
think.
what if you
Or
take-
or an extrusion of some sort, you know, an L extrusion or something like that.
Yeah.
what if you
Look,
I'll
take
do it from
plumbing
underneath.
pipe? Plumbing pipe, they run that stuff. I don't here. It's like 1/2 inch plumbing pipe. It's cast iron. If you drilled through there and then bolted it down to it, because that pipe won't bend like wood will.
That's true.
Yeah, I thought if I get like a big fat piece of plywood, sort of at least a foot wide and 8 foot long. I mean, hopefully that, because that obviously got again, you got to work with the materials you got laying about. I'm doing my best to use recycled wood wherever. But yeah, see, look, you come on here and you find someone has the answer. That's what I love about it. It's brilliant. But
If it works.
yeah, that's pretty much it, folks. So that's me done. Back to you guys. Stop share.
All right, perfect. Thanks for the update, Graham. It's looking good. Can't wait to see some cars running on that. Like, I'm sure you can't wait to see cars.
Yeah. Yeah.
When does your braid come in, or is it already in and you're just working on things? Or
As I said to you before, I do an hour here, an hour there if I get a free morning or something. Because obviously I have other things to do as well. So, but yeah.
I mean, do you already have the braid in hand? Or are you still waiting on that to come in? And
Oh, sorry, I thought you said braid. Yeah, I've got the braid all in. Yep, and I have done the test pieces to get the distance right. I think it's about 5 thou, or sort of like about 1/3 of a millimeter below the surface. Fingers crossed.
awesome. So it's basically just getting round to it.
Yep.
Awesome. Again, looking forward to that. And Gary, do you want to give it another try?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, why not?
Why not?
You got this.
How we going with this? No, it's not working. No, I can't get it. Sorry.
All right, I will lower your hand and maybe we'll try again later.
Yeah, why not?
Does anybody else have anything they want to share and show or tell about before we do Club Corner stuff? All right, Dewan, what you got? You're holding your hand up, but you're not. Microphone's muted.
I'm bringing my pictures over now, so it'll be about 3 minutes.
Okay. Well, how about we do a little tip of the week, as Brian suggested. Does anybody have a Worldwide Stock Car Chat tip of the week they'd like to have on this chat? If so, raise your virtual hand or wave your real hand in front of the screen, and I'll let you do a tip of the week. If not, I will just come up with one off the top of my head. And because I didn't get any emails or messages or forum posts or anything volunteering, I didn't ask in the various places that I post. So basically, I'm relying on people who were here at the time or have seen the video to voluntarily offer a tip of the week. Seeing nobody raising their virtual or real hand, I will do a tip of the week. And this comes from, years and years of this same question being asked over and over, but also, like this morning or last night, the same question was asked, which is the age-old question of, can I have both the digital power base and the analog power base in my layout at the same time? The answer is no. I will go into more detail. Most people get into this question because they have digital or started with digital and then they bought some analog cars and they don't want to chip the cars, or they've had analog for a while and they're adding digital to their track and want to do both. Basically, you want to do both things. And the easiest thing to do if you have plastic track, obviously, is to have the analog power base there and the digital power base there, and only plug one in, whichever one you want to use. You can't do that because when you plug in the analog power base, even if the digital one is completely disconnected, no wires plugged into it of any kind, when you power the analog power base up, that analog power is a circuit, and the digital power base is connected to that circuit. And when that analog power travels around the track and through your car, it'll go right back up into the digital power base. And those electronics are not usually designed to have analog power going back up into its output to the track, which is what's going to happen if you do that. So I don't care what system you're talking about, Carrera, Scalextric, SCX Digital, Ninco Digital, whatever. Don't ever do that, because you will most likely damage your power base. If you don't, good for you, but it's probably going to happen sooner or later, so don't do that. Now, if you want to have both analog and digital functionality on your track, and you don't have a power base such as the Scalextric, the most recent two 6-car power base from Scalextric Digital have an analog mode. If your base doesn't do that, then your two options are take out the digital power base and put in the analog power base when you want to do analog, and vice versa when you want to go back to digital, or start doing some wiring. And basically what you do is you have your analog power base and your digital power base not in your track, or at least not electrically connected to your track. And then you have those outputs going to a switch, and then that switch goes to your track. So for a 2-lane track, you would have a 4-pole double throw switch. So you have 4 wires from the analog base going to one side of the switch, 4 wires from the digital base going to the other side of the switch, and 4 wires from the center going to the actual track. That way, when it's clicked to one side, the power cannot go through to the other side. So you'll never have to worry about power going to where it shouldn't go. Not everybody is okay doing that, so there are some options, like Tech Slots is a company that offers a pre-modified control unit for Carrera Digital power, Carrera Digital users to have an analog functionality in their track. Analog powered by digital control units isn't always the best, and so a lot of people prefer to have pure analog, which is what I've done to my track here. I've wired in club style controller connectors and pure DC power, and I flip a switch when I do analog mode. So that was the long-winded explanation for why you should never have an analog and digital power base in your track at the same time. And this applies to all kinds of digital bases. Don't do it. And I'm going to clip this as a separate Worldwide Slot Car Chat tip of the week. Dewan, I gave you plenty of time, so hopefully you're ready to do your share. Take it away, Dewan.
It's showing anything?
Not yet.
Oh, I have to hit the share button, don't I?
Something's coming. There we go. Near your garage. Gotham City Pit Garage. Looks great.
$16.95.
That is money well spent. And how many hours?
If you want the doors to be optionally opened or closed, then it does takes about an extra hour and a half to 2 hours. But it's about a 2-hour project, and in my case, it took about 3 to 4 hours.
That's not too bad. Nice, relaxing. Sitting there with an X-Acto knife and a straight edge, and your cutting board, and folding and gluing and stuff.
Yeah.
Wow, that looks really good.
I talked to one of the representatives from the company, because what they've done is they basically did most of their models off of HO scale, and then they decided to expand and go to different scales. And so they're now have a nice series of 132 scale. And but the issue is they send out the instructions with the old HO scale. And they were telling you to cut certain really supports at a certain length. And they were telling you the length for HO versus 132. So anyway, they said they'll be cleaning up their instructions and getting that out better. And I actually did invite them to chat. I don't know if he's joined or not. Oh yeah, I think he has. Is that Alan? No. Okay, no, sorry, Alan. Okay, a different.
Oh,
okay.
For future reference, if they were to join, what would be their name? Alan something.
Is it Alan or Alex? Gosh darn it, I don't have it, but nonetheless.
Okay. Well, let us know later.
And I also invited another gentleman, a well-known guy from. He's been in a lot of chat groups. That's Steve. What's his last name? Neville.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So So hopefully those guys show up. Anyway, that's all I have for today. Oh, well, we're gonna. I'll give you some updates when we get to the Club Corner stuff.
Okay, well, we're just about there, so get those updates ready. Are you done sharing this particular thing?
Yes, I am.
All righty.
Philip.
And Garth has his electronic hand up. What's going on with you, Garth?
I was going to show something that's like a tip of the week.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, this is a little ditty that this is a quick, fast, cheap way to use it to sign for a, actually it would probably work on any kind of track, but it, for lane colors and direction. Okay, it's just a little thing made out of a piece of plastic tape with paint on either side. This side being the red lane, this side being the blue lane, and so it's real fast. So you don't have to paint anything or put any dots on anything at all. It's just really easy, cheap way to go.
What kind of tape is it?
It's just a plastic tape.
Like electrical tape?
Yes and no. It's not really electrical tape, but it's similar to it. Okay.
You have the brand.
Yeah, it comes in different colors. I don't know what the brand is. Okay, it comes in different colors. Okay, this is the best way to do it is use white, and then it takes paint really easily. Okay, and basically I just cut it out with an X-Acto knife. Okay, and that kind of, and there's the tape. Okay, it's just a
okay. It's like a stick-on paper of tape of some sort.
Yeah, this is the backing for it, and it's just got a glue on one side and white vinyl on the other side. I guess you could almost call it vinyl tape, you know.
Garth, that's a great idea because you solve two problems with in a very simple way.
Yes, and it came about because of I have a long track with a lot of turns on it, and you know sometimes so many other people who haven't been on the track don't know the direction. You know what I mean? So I didn't want to have to paint everything or put
I mean, I have that problem with tracks that I've raced on for years. I still will be looking at what 2 or 3 or 2, what I don't know. So
and see, it's now I don't know with different tracks it would be a little different, but I have Carrera, so the cars never really and it's low enough where even if the car ran over it wouldn't be an issue. But
yeah, if you're running 1/32 cars on the Carrera track, they're rarely going to get into where those stickers are placed. So yeah, that's a good one. I'll clip that one out too. Maybe I'll upload that at a later date. Thank you for sharing that one, Garth. I appreciate it.
Okay.
And does anybody else have any show and tell or share and talk before I go over to Club Corner? I know I have at least one Club Corner or two. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and do Club Corner. Alan, do you want to get your thing done and out of the way?
Yeah, let's do that.
Go for it. I'll get the thing shared. You go ahead and start.
Okay, so I'm in government minister mode, presentation mode, and that means I have a human helper in Greg. I have no clicky thing. I have no control of the technology. Greg's just going to do this for me. So I know that, not everybody here races at clubs, and I know people doing the review, when you look at these chats afterwards, you'll be wondering what's all that about. I'm just racing my stuff at home. But there's something in here for you, because finding a good set of cars that are balanced and work well on a track improves the whole situation. But this is primarily about clubs and what clubs do. Clubs generally are divided into those clubs that like modern off-the-shelf RTR cars that you can just buy right on mail order or something. And then you've got the kind of stuff that I saw Wayne doing, which is, you've got to use this fly motor that hasn't been produced for 15 years. Has anybody got this motor? It's the only one we're allowed to use. So those are not the kind of clubs I go to. I like to go to the kind of clubs where I can just buy what I need and modify it. So of course, every year we need to change the rules and update them because things become obsolete. And you need to look at the classes of cars you're racing and think about what's good for the club and what's good for the members and what will introduce new members to the club, which will be make the club attractive to new people. And that's the core of what you're trying to do. Make the racing good, make the racing equal. This is a rule set presentation. These are not the rules. The rules are very, very wordy, pages and pages. This is just a quick presentation on what we do and what we decided to do for next year and the year after. So we strive to put a mixed grid out there. Nobody wants to see a whole grid full of the same car. That's not really good, healthy club kind of behavior. We like cars that are good in performance, straight out of the box, but will get tuning. We need cars that are available. They've got to be available, of good quality. And if the quality slips on a manufacturer, that will lead us to drop that manufacturer. And NASCAR would review these every 3 years. So if a class has been available for 3 years and we've raced it, then we will review it. And if it's meeting expectations, we may continue it. And if it's not, we may drop it in favor of something else. So I'll take you briefly through the classes, because this is what we have been racing and what we're going to be racing. One of our favorite classes is Group 5. Other clubs mix this between Scale Auto, Group 5 and Sideways. We just stick with Racer Sideways. Quality cars. I'm amazed how good these cars are, considering they're built in China. Slot-it compatibility, and it means that you can do upgrades, and the cars work. And they're balanced. New models that Racer release are not light years ahead of the ones that are already there, which means you don't get into a situation where a new car comes along and you just have to have it, otherwise you're at the back of you're not going to get on the podium at all. So it's quite a simple class. It's almost straight out of the box, apart from a few changes. Flat 6 motor, which is the factory fit, no suspension. And that's how we run that class. And it's worked, and we're going to continue to work that with no changes at all. Okay, next, Greg. Classic GT, we've had to do a few tweaks here. This used to be slotted and NSR dominated, and then Giovanni released the Thunder slots. And since the Lola came along and the McLaren came along, they dominate everything. That car, this is a testament to Giovanni's design and manufacture, that the Thunder slots are just way ahead of the rest. And it's not something as a club we want to see. We'd like to see a mixed grid. So although it's a bit of a fool's errand, what we're going to do is tweak this for next year, and we're going to allow the non-Thunder slots to have more powerful motors. So they're going to be able to use the Sharp, NSR Sharp 25. I'm not sure that will close the gap, but we'd like to try it, and we'll see how we go. And we'll review it again at the end of next year. Okay, next, Greg. NSR GT, we introduced this about 3-4 years ago, and this is a great class. Just sticking with the NSR, basically around the national UK NSR GT, but without the Scale Auto. We've decided we're not going to go with the Scale Auto. And 3 years ago, we brought these in. And this is, again, NSR keep on delivering. They keep delivering great cars that are fairly well matched. Every time we get a bit worried, like the Mercedes without the drop arm, thinking this is going to kill everything. This is going to be a Mosler, Mosler type performance. It wasn't. It was pretty good. We're thinking that the McLaren will be available in the March-April timeframe next year. And it's likely that we will just allow that straight in to that class of racing. So it's a non-suspension, factory fit motors, no lightweight interior. It's almost out of the box factory specification, and we're not going to change that. So that's all good. Okay, next, Greg. Touring cars, we struggle with this one. We adopted Slotit's touring cars, DTM cars, when we basically got to the position where the previous types of cars, which is the Spirit Peugeot Silhouette, which dominated completely, there was nothing even close to that. When we eventually got to the point where you just can't even get them on eBay anymore, you just have to say we need to do something else. So we adopted the DTM format from Slotted, and it's had a difficult birthing, really. The Alphas weren't really very good. People didn't like them. They rolled over. We were hoping for a better car in the Calibra. What we got was a rocket ship that meant that the Alphas were completely off the table. So then we had to rejig the whole thing. So you have to race both cars. So you've got to race the Calibra in 3 tracks and the Alpha in another 3 tracks. And it's not been that great. But with newer cars coming up, like the Mercedes, that's coming along, and with the newer versions of the Alpha, it's got a slightly longer guide length and slightly wider at the back, and it is better. I would say this class is not as I would want it to be, but it's not so bad that we want to abandon it. So we're pretty much going to stick with it. I mean, we retrofit the MX-16 slot-it motor, and provided we do a mixed grid, which is a forced mixed grid, then everybody enjoys their night. You have to race 2 or 3 different types of cars that you bring along. And we're going to leave it another year before looking at it. But really, there really aren't any other good sets of touring cars out there. So without any alternatives, we're going to stick with this one. Next, Greg. Right, Formula One. We went with the Polycar Classic Formula Ones about 3 years ago because the long can inline format Formula One, modern Formula Ones, was dominated by the all-slot car made by the Ostorero brothers in Italy, and that simply became unavailable. And the guiding principle's got to be available, or as a club we can't run it. So the only thing that we could really look at was to do something completely different. So we chose Polycar's classic F1s. It's got the slim can motor. It's got a lay shaft gearbox in the back. It was a complete change of direction. We're hopeful that this would be really good, but it hasn't resulted in a mixed grid. The March is uncompetitive. The Lotus dominates everything. We waited 2.5 years for the Ferrari to arrive, and when it did arrive, the build quality was quite poor. And so the people that have it have had to completely strip it, scrub it, rebuild it from scratch. And that's not the kind of thing you want new people to the club to be faced with. So we are going to run it for another year because we like to do a three-year review, and the pandemic stopped us running this last year. So, but we are going to run it for 1 more year, but we're not going to run it in 2023. In 2023, we're going to go back to a long can format, and we're going to chance our arm and use the NSR 8689 and the Scale Auto 1994 and 9597. And this is just because they look about the same kind of car. And I know there's a bit of needle between these two manufacturers, and we're happy to get involved with that and let people race what they want to race. We can't introduce it next year because the Scale Auto is vaporware at the moment. I mean, I know somebody who does have one. He had to import it from France, and you can't run a club based on that. But I think by 2023 we'll have some in test. We'll know what they look like, and we'll be able to run a decent class. So we'll review this next October and see if we really want to do this. But I think we really are, because I don't think we want to continue with the Polycar Classic ones. Okay, next one, Greg. Right, here we go. Sport GT. This is one of the oldest classes we race, and it is absolutely dominated by the NSR Mosler. The Mosler's got to be maybe 11 or 12 years old as a car, and it's still very, very difficult to beat. And so, you're looking at, when I look at our grid, it's just full of NSR Moslers, and that's something we prefer it not to be. We prefer other kind of manufacturers to be represented, or scratch builders to build something or to put something together, kit bashers. And so what we try to do here is to say we will allow 3D chassis and motor pods, which is something the club has not allowed at all up until this point. We're hoping, I don't think our committee believes that the 3D chassis are better, but what we do think is that the 3D chassis will allow bodies from other manufacturers to get back on the track and be competitive. So we'd see a mixed grid, which is, what we really want. And it will be new for some people to play with 3D components, because this is something that a lot of the guys at NASCAR would have never done anything with at all. So we haven't made any huge changes, and I'm thinking that we've got a really nice set of classes here to race next year and planning for the year after, and hoping it will move forward, hoping we can sort of take it forward and gain some more members. Does anyone have any questions on those classes of racing about what it is or why we chose to do what we've done?
I have a question, Alan.
Yeah.
Hey, are these all non-magnet classes on wood tracks, or are you mixing it up? I didn't hear what you talked about magnets.
Yeah, no, I don't talk about magnets because I don't do magnets. Our club doesn't do magnets. We're not interested in doing magnet racing. So everything I've talked about so far is about non-magnet club racing on plastic tracks. So our particular track is an old Spanish Ninco track that works really well for us. And it's got some years left in it yet. It needs a bit of refurbishing. We have to clean it up. We had to do some maintenance on it a few weeks ago, clean up the rails, check the electrical conductivity to make sure it's good. But no, these cars are aimed primarily at non-magnet. And so I don't race a magnet, and I don't know how these cars behave with magnets.
And do you guys have a web page or anything we can kind of take a look at?
Yeah, NASCARWoodSlotCarClub.com.
I'll never be able to spell that. We better put the link in the description.
I will pop it up. If you look at Slot Racer Online, under Greg's invitation, I will put a little note of NASCAR Wood web page, so you can pick it up there later.
Thank you.
Sorry, Duane, carry on.
How many members do you have in your group, in your club?
Well, it depends. I mean, it has been as low as 10 because of the pandemic, and some people can't come and various things. But before the pandemic, we were hitting just under 20 people, and a good typical night would be 17, 18 people. That's what we're looking for.
And you'd mentioned you have a committee that takes care of rules. How many people are on your committee? And then does that change? Is it voted on? How does that happen?
Yeah, there's a committee, and it's typically 5 people, which is a chairman who's basically the boss, and a treasurer, and then 3 other hangers-on. I am one of those 3 other hangers-on. And the reason we stick at 5 is because there are always disagreements in a committee, and an odd number allows us to force the issue. So if 3 people say we want to do this, well, even though it's nice to get a consensus, sometimes you just have to force that through. So we discuss it. We're quite conservative in our changes. We listen to the membership. We put out a census for them, and we take into account what they want. But we really focus on trying to do what's right for our club and not align too much with what other clubs are doing.
Alan, do you pay a membership fee?
Yeah, it's £10 a year. It's not breaking the bank. We pay £5 a week race fees. And as part of that, the chairman takes us out for Christmas dinner every year and pays for it, which is lovely.
And I expect the venue has some kind of charges that he needs to pay.
The venue we're at, where we race, is a school hall. And the costs are quite low, but it was difficult to get in there during the pandemic because of the cleaning regimen that was needed. So we were shut down for a good solid 8 months. So, but we do get charged for the venue, but between the people who come, we can raise enough money. The £5 per person per night covers the whole costs.
Does anybody else have any questions for Alan before we do a different club corner person?
Alan, this is John. Yes, a few weeks ago you mentioned your club, and I went to the website and I looked at your rules, and hey, that's kind of what we were trying to do with PSSRA about 1998. Pretty much RTR, not too much. Well, the rules were much the same as yours, and because it was more fun to have close racing. That's what we like, different looking cars. And I remember, Luff, I don't know if you remember years at Perry's, a number of years ago, there was 4 of us on the track, and you and I were racing for last place, so we wouldn't be in last place. And all I remember was we were racing side by side through the corners, and it was so much fun. I don't even know who beat who in the 3rd and 4th place. It didn't matter to me. It was just so much fun. Just racing door to door, that's the best for me. But I really liked your rules, Alan, so I'm with you on that.
Yeah, I researched other clubs, and the other clubs I race at have different rules, but I am very focused on saying I do not join committees on multiple clubs. It has to be, I will be on committee with one club, and over here I will race. I'll come and race, read your rules, and abuse them until you tell me to stop. And that's how I like to run it.
Yeah, John, you hit on what I was going to mention in that I don't know what PSSRA is doing since we split up, but EMSA basically maintained the original PSSRA ethic and rules, and so we try to keep everything as stock as possible with the bare minimum of true and glued tires and maybe a little bit of weight, take out the magnet. That's pretty much every class rule set that we have. And regarding the committee, because Jeremy might be interested in this as well, with EMSA, we have a yearly meeting. And we have a club rules, maybe 10 pages of, how we generally run races, how we deal with, various issues that come up, in the club and whatnot, behavior and etiquette and whatnot. Those are all in the club rules. But we have a yearly meeting, and at that meeting, we literally just read through all the rules and give everybody in the club an opportunity to ask for clarification, or if a rule was created a long time ago and we've been kind of more or less breaking the rule anyways, it'll be like, okay, well, it's time to change that rule because we're not really adhering to that rule for whatever reason anymore. So every year the rules kind of get massaged a little bit and little changes here and there, but like Alan said, very conservative. One of the sections in the rule book include who has the ability to vote on things. Like, we vote on what's going to be the next series car, but if you literally just started racing with us, you don't get to vote on the next series car. But if you've been racing with us for several months, you get to vote on the next series car. If you just joined the club, you got no votes or say or anything in the club rules because you just got there. But if you've been racing with us for, I think the rule is like at least 6 months, then you get to participate in updating the rules and stuff like that. And so we try to keep it as democratic as possible for pretty much everything from what cars we're racing to, what the group rules are. But generally, we don't like to make big changes in a short period of time. And so we just kind of stick with and basically our overarching ethic or whatever the appropriate grammar is for that is, we have a saying that's at the top of our rule book. It's more fun to lose by an inch than to win by a mile.
Yep.
And that's basically what all of our rules are geared towards, is to keep things fun, keep things fair, keep things easy and welcoming, and to have fun.
Yep.
John, did you have something that you wanted to do club corner, or we just wanted to ask that question?
Yeah, that's all I had to say.
Okay.
Greg. Yeah, exactly. It was more fun to race real close and come in second. We all want to win, of course, but it's so much more fun to, what you just said. So yeah, thanks so much.
All right,
Thank you for sharing that, Alan. I really appreciate that. And like everything you talked about in the beginning is like all the things that I feel like I'm going through is where, you show up and you have to race this car. And it's like, I don't want to see a field of, all 8 people at the club racing the same car in order to be competitive. It drives me insane. And I like what you guys have done here. It's just, I'm going to look for some of these rules and kind of see how to implement them. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's also one of the things that helps guide us on which series we nominate and vote for. Like the Pioneer Legends came out years ago, right? They've been out for a while, but now there are enough liveries of the 2 variants of the cars that we can have a very diverse field of cars. I mean, they're all more or less the same, but it doesn't look like all of the cars are the same as they would have been if we did this 4 years ago or whenever they first came out.
It's funny he mentioned the Spirit Peugeot, because when that came out, and everybody eventually got one within the next 2 years, and that was all people, and it just became the Peugeot class. And now it's good to see competition, and you have to kind of force people to change for the better of the club.
And then sometimes it just takes somebody buying a new car and showing them that this car is just as competitive with those cars, like you're probably going to be doing for some things. But yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the great presentation, Alan. And is it okay if I were to share that document somewhere for people to download and review?
Completely okay.
Okay, so I'll put that on my web server and put a link in the description. So if you want to review that in more detail or take longer to read through it, you should be able to click a link down in the description and check out that document.
Thank you, Alan.
Yeah, thanks, Alan. And anybody, so I got 4 hands. Jeremy, did you have a club corner that you wanted to go to? Okay. And Mike, you have your virtual hand up. Did you have a question or a club corner? You're muted. You are muted. Here we go.
There we go. Okay, more of an update. I finally figured out what was going on with the fueling, and it was a track issue. The voltage was dropping just enough to not allow the fueling to begin. It doesn't make sense. The only thing I did find a couple of ohms resistance on the area that's around the pit. And I put a power strip in to alleviate the problem. It's all gone. So I think what it was doing is it was varying the voltage when you put push the button down, and it wasn't showing the correct resistance as a result of it. That's the only thing I can think of that would cause it.
You know, if it fixed it, then hey.
I have empirical evidence.
Right? It's almost like who cares why?
We got it back. So
awesome.
So it and of course the guy that had complained about it at first, of course, got screwed over by the fueling again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like I hated it, I loved it, I hated it.
I mean, well, good to get that one resolved. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
All right. What do you got, Dewan?
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Let's see, I went to Electric Dreams yesterday. I saw Dennis down there. He was on there on a Tuesday, so we chatted for a little bit. And getting ready for the first race this weekend, and any kind of club environment, any kind of competitive environment, as a matter of fact. So, but I purchased a racer sideways vehicle to be in one of the classes, and I put it on my track right after I bought it, and it was the worst performing car, the loudest, and I couldn't believe it. And that's why I went back to Electric Dreams yesterday, and it turned out that the gear had a crack in it, and I hadn't even noticed it. But Dennis found it immediately and replaced it, and now it's the smoothest and smoothest car running. But I wanted to also share that I was at Electric Dreams for the holiday bash thing they had, and I had to leave a little early. But when I went back there yesterday, I found out that I was, wait.
You win that?
Yes, I won that.
Nice.
You see it? Okay, it didn't show up in my window. The Skill Electric.
All right, congratulations.
Winner, winner, winner.
Dinner, chicken dinner.
It's a nice little oval. I think it says 7.4 feet, something like that.
A nice, crash resistant cars. And
so, yeah, that might find a good home for Christmas. But anyway.
There you go. Or when you resell it on eBay, you'll be able to get one car or half a car.
And it was my first inroad to anything Skill Electric. I never even touched a piece of Skill Electric track before, so now I can at least say I touched it.
I was gonna say, you might as well fire it up and
yeah,
some laps, and
Well, we have a family gathering for Thanksgiving, so yeah.
Perfect.
Another thing that came out while I was at Electric Dreams.
Put it around the turkey.
Will it fit around the turkey? I don't know.
Probably fit a turkey in there, yeah.
But while I was there, I took down my controller on a couple of cars, and I'll tell you, everyone was amazed at me walking around the track, doing my own marshalling, because I wasn't driving for a lick. So but running around the track with my controller and marshaling my cars and pretty much marshaling their cars too, because I was the only one that was able to do that. And literally, I think 3 people were gearing up to buy those controllers from Dennis and his guys at Electric Dreams. So.
Yeah, and Dennis sent me an email because he was trying to help another customer basically do what you did, and he's like double checking with me, what actually needs to be done to make that happen.
And you know what? That needs to be, because there's no real simplistic set of instructions to make that happen. And there's one missing piece out of the instructions that I received which was I call it pairing the controller to the to the dongle, but that's not what the official terms are. But
the receiver.
Yeah, so I think that they really need to just do step by step. These are the items you need, and these are the steps you need to take. And I think that putting it out there and as a viable wireless solution for analog world would be great.
Yeah, I mean, I won't disagree with that. I mean, the reason they haven't probably is because they're not a toy company. They're an engineering company, and they're making the stuff, and they say you can do these things, but yeah, getting from A to B is not their forte. But yeah, I mean, I've got several videos that if you watch them all, you kind of get it. But maybe maybe I should go ahead and do it.
There's the one that showed how to pair your SB controller to a car that I use to do that last step on the controller. So start to finish. Here's the components you need. Here's how to put them together. Here's how to pair them. Here's how you're done. His main question was, he's trying to help a guy with an SCP-1. Yes.
So the only make of the SCP-1 or SCP-2 wireless is by getting the oxygen cartridge. That's what you put into the handle. But the oxygen cartridge comes with a wire to be powered, right? It's designed to be at a driver station, and you plug it into power or stick a battery on the end of it. It wasn't designed to have a battery in the controller. And so there's some hobbyists who came up with a way to, put a battery inside the handle. It's just a simple, desolder the wires that go to the cable and, solder them to a battery connector, and then you put your battery in. The trickiest part is finding a battery that'll fit in the handle that provides the right amount of power. And for the SCP-1, that's 7.2 volts or more, and enough power that it'll run for more than 5 minutes and fit inside with the oxygen cartridge, all in the handle. Oh, and you want to switch so you can turn it off, because otherwise it'll just drain the battery and explode. So all those things, I basically pointed Dennis to the thread on Stop Forum that shows the guy who came up with how to do it, and pictures and everything.
Yeah,
because the rest is fairly straightforward. You need the CRI, the receiver, and then whatever cartridge you're going to use, analog or high amp or digital or whatever. But yeah, I guess I need to do that since nobody else has done it.
Yeah, because I tell you, and he was sitting next to me. He's the one that was mesmerized on what I was doing, and that's why I said. So anyway, that's all I have.
I've done that so many times that with my club that they're just like, Greg's got his wireless thing going again. You always freak me out when you're walking around and your car's still going. Oh, and here comes Dennis. All right, thank you for sharing that, Dewan. And Steve, Mr. Hendrickson, you have your hand up. What's going on in your neck of the woods?
Yeah, back to the club discussion. I wondered if any of you clubs have instigated a qualifying handicap system when you run races. We did about 8 years ago, 7 years ago. It changed the club dramatically. It's a matter that everybody had a chance to win, even under all of our rules and classes. We have 12 classes. I wondered if anybody else tried it, and if they did, how did they do it? I can explain how we did it, but I'm curious if anybody else did.
It seems to be a rare thing.
It's rare. It is, because first you have to have the guys that are winning, and there's always guys that are winning, and they have to be willing not to.
Yeah.
It's got to start there. And then you've got to really want door-to-door racing, as opposed to these guys are going to always win. We started it because it dawned on us that 2 or 3 guys won 95% of the time. And everybody else came here saying, I'm going to run for 3rd or 4th. And we changed it and everybody wins. End of the year and the season, it's amazing how close 8 different people can be in points when you instigate a handicap system. It's also amazing how much door-to-door racing you do versus normal racing. Anyway, I was just curious.
Maybe,
Well,
maybe do a quick,
How does yours work?
I was going to say, do a quick overview of how your handicapping system works.
Right.
Okay, it's 2 or 3 ways. The first, I'll do the simple one. If we're doing lap racing, in other words, 20-minute heats, and that's what we do, say 6 guys, each guy will run 20 laps in each lane against every other guy going through that for the end of the night. Everybody qualifies. Qualifying times are in the computer. If I was, let's say, the fastest qualifier with, say, 12.5 seconds, and Greg, let's say you were 12.7, that's a 2/10 difference. That adds 4 seconds to my refueling time, which is a base of 10. So I would be refueling for 14. And in that 20-lap race, I'd only have to refuel once. You would refuel at the base 10. So that is in the computer. So after we qualify, that is in the computer. All that's there. And so there's no dogging on the qualifying. It's a 0.3 of a second breakout. If you go 0.3 faster than your qualifying time, you have to stop in the pits for 5 seconds. That's basically for lap racing.
And you said it's all held in the computer. What's the software that you use again?
Slot track, like you saw in Wisconsin.
Just wanted to verify. I thought that's what it was, but yeah, it's slot track, and I believe that's free now, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So
yeah, I worked with him 8-10 years ago when he, it's a wonderful system. Anyway.
And you have other handicapping techniques depending on what.
Well, if you're doing a rotation with a total lap end of the night, that's a different system gets put into place. It's a little more complicated, but the calculator has to come out for about 5 minutes to figure it out. All that can be explained. I'm just curious if anybody else has tried it or even are interested in trying it. That's about it.
Like you said, it's got to start. It's got to start with your club members, and the winners have to basically say, "Yeah, I'll be okay if I'm not always winning." Which is,
We need to try, but you have to have the software to do it. I don't think people will manually do that.
That's why. That's why I asked.
Is Slot Track the only one that does that?
It's not true. If you're running a fuel system, somewhere in any of the softwares, you enter in the fuel time, the time it takes to fill. And all that I've seen anyway, when you finally get to your final race setup, you can tell each driver what his fill time is in the program manually. And we had to do that at the beginning. It took 5 minutes, but that was that,
I mean, we used to do this long before computers.
How would you do it without a computer to help? I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just curious.
All right. So what we used to do back in the club that I ran in South Africa, we always ran club races over 3 minutes on each lane, whatever the was, and we had a target number of laps total.
Okay.
And so let's say you could do 30 laps in 3 minutes across 4 lanes, 120 laps. And then you would take everybody in the club had a handicap in a number of laps and sections. So if you were a guy who the last time you were out, you did 110 laps, now you'd have a 10-lap handicap next week.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
And so you would run together. There would always be winner overall for the night, and then you add in the handicaps, and somebody would then beat that. And anybody who beat the base score of 120 would have his handicap reduced by that amount for the following week.
Sure.
And what it means is, of course, that somebody's going to keep those records.
Sure.
But it doesn't really change. It changes the outcome, but not necessarily the individual heats so much.
Except that what you can do when you've got that is that you can run a handicapped race where you say, okay, for the guy who has a 10-lap handicap over the 120 laps, that's 2.5 laps per 3 minutes. So I'm going to put 2.5. I'm going to put 2 laps on and start him halfway around the lap, and I'm going to start everybody at the particular position with a number of laps on the board already for each heat, and then you get you can run it just over a single 3-minute heat, and you get a chase down. Theoretically, if everybody's running right to their handicap, everybody's going to come across the line, next to each other at the end of 3 minutes.
Dennis, yeah, Dennis, that's pretty much down the road we do with the road.
And that becomes a hell of a race.
It does.
Because if you're a scratch guy and you know that there's a guy out there that has 2.5 laps, you spotted him 2.5 laps already, you've got to get going, man. You can't make any mistakes. You've got to really push it. So it actually, and we used to do that, not every week, but most weeks we would run the regular racing, and then we would run at least 1, maybe 2 heats of the actual handicaps at the end of the evening, just to get everybody going. It was a lot of fun. Now at the hard body racing, and I'm surprised Frank hasn't chipped in on this yet, but at the hard body racing at Buena Park, they run 2 different types of handicaps. They run a handicap that's based on the class of car that you're running, so that you can run a whole bunch of different cars together and still come out with some kind of an overall result. And then they have a handicap based on each driver's individual performance in the class of car that he was racing. And that becomes to my mind, a nightmare of record keeping. But the guy who organizes that particular race program, he has that kind of OCD type of personality, and he likes to keep those lists.
Keith Tanaka. And I've even won once in a while there, having overall come in 8 or 9 out of 12. And because of my handicap, not racing as often as I should, I actually have been on the podium or won the race.
And the fun part about it too sometimes is when the guys are going for the car class handicap, they'll run a Mini or a Datsun 510 while everybody else is running a Porsche 962 or something. And so you get this massive difference in speed and size on the track. And it's actually quite interesting to see what happens at the end of the night.
Dennis, another reason we did the handicap was we all have these 50 to 400 cars sitting on our shelves at home like everybody else. And you tend to, say, Fly Classic class, have 2 or 3 of them that are really quick. Yeah. And the guys would generally run those night after night after night. As soon as you introduce that handicap system, you can run any of them.
Yep.
It doesn't matter. So suddenly cars are showing up on the track. And this was a big deal that we never ran before.
Yeah. It's a pity Luff's not on, because he has he is on. They have a handicap system.
That's what I was going to mention. Luff has a handicap. Yeah, exactly.
Yep, and he's gone over that several times. Definitely can go over that. We've got plenty of time. I wanted to just kind of throw out there, it's not really a handicapping, and I get a lot of grief over every time I post a video about it. On my last video showing the Legends race, we race, crash, and burn. And that is kind of a handicapping in and of itself, because a fast guy with active marshaling, when the guys are quick to marshal a car back on the track, he can make up that time that he lost from that crash, as long as the marshal's paying attention to his corner rather than chatting to the guy next to him. But with crash and burn, you don't. You're done for that minute or for the heat. So it encourages you to be more conservative with your racing than maybe you would if you were going to get put right back on. So the faster guys tended to be a little bit more conservative, and then the slower guys, if they just focus on staying on the track, oddly enough, you tend to go faster when you're focused on your car and keeping the tail in line rather than just going out and out as fast as you possibly can. You actually go faster, but you also stay on the track. You can't win a race if you don't finish it. So if the slower guys are doing what they should do, and that's focus on their car and keep their car on the track and get the laps in, they have a really good chance of actually winning against the guys who drive faster, because the guys who drive faster, if they're not being careful, are going to crash, and they're going to lose laps because they crashed.
And to your point, Greg, you posted one video that was a really cool race. Like they were just neck and neck for a while.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago on Blair's track. Yeah, and those are NSR cars. They're very equal cars, and the drivers happen to be pretty equal too. But you saw on that video, somebody came out, and it's like, sometimes, knowing that it's crash and burn. When you're pushing hard, you're like, okay, in your head that you're pushing hard to keep up, catch up, or stay ahead of the person who's next to you. Sometimes you just got to say to yourself, you know what? I'm pushing too hard, and give the place to the guy who's trying so hard to pass you, because I'd rather give him the place and the bonus point in how our rules work than for me to try so hard that I either come out ahead of him, or for us to be so door to door and trying hard that we're whacking into each other and trading paint that one or both of us come out. I would rather get the laps, because at the end of the night, the winner is determined by total number of laps plus the bonus points for their placing on each heat, and then tiebreakers such as fastest lap and stuff, and number of wins and stuff like that. But if you get your laps and don't come out, half the time you end up in second or third, or if not first place, because you didn't come out. So you get those extra bonus points for your place, and sometimes that adds up. Or just not coming out. There have been people who win with no heat wins at all, like fourth place in every heat, but they got every single lap. They never came out, and so they won by laps alone against guys who were much faster and winning heats, but who crashed off, early in a minute or whatever, and lost enough laps that their bonus points didn't make up for it.
Well, and so what you're really rewarding is consistency then.
You're rewarding consistency and considerate driving, I'll say, because if you're wagging your tail all over the place, you might not intentionally be nerfing people, but you end up nerfing people. And a lot of times it's like, okay, that guy's wagging his tail all over the place. He can just go on ahead and wag his tail in front of me, and when he comes out, I'll be slowly passing him by, and then I'll get my laps in. And that's all to say, if you want to have more even racing, then figure out how to have more even racing. There's lots of ways to do it. There's crash and burn, there's handicapping, there's rule sets and different things like that. So
one thing, if I could just make a quick comment on handicap, we tried with our club is we did timed races. We normally have this clock is running 100% of the time, and you can see exactly what lap you're or how fast your laps are. We turned that timer off, and then we said, okay, if you run under 8 seconds, that lap is disqualified. There's 25 total laps. I think with 3 lanes, the first 2 or 3 laps, everybody was disqualified because we were all trying to run too fast. Finally, somebody figured out we got to slow down. And then we figured out who was running the closest to just over 8 seconds. And then everybody stayed just behind that guy. And at the last second tried to pass him. We laughed more that night than we ever laughed before or after, because of the fact that, like you say, the slowest guys were not necessarily winning the races. In fact, the slower cars, you could run any car you wanted. So you just had to be consistent and always over 8 seconds. Then we had another class that was run at 7 seconds. Then we had another class that was run at 6 seconds. Any car you wanted, but if you went under that time, that lap was disqualified. First one to 25 laps that counted won the race, but there were no other extra bonus. It was just the first guy to get 25 actual laps, and we laughed our heads off. Anyways, that's all I want to say.
That's another, there's so many options. I hadn't heard of that one before. That's great.
It's similar to breakout racing, but based on total laps. I like that.
Yeah. With the breakout racing, normally they see the timer and they know how fast they're running. We only found out after we crossed the finish line, oh crap, we went under. And then we had to sort of manage it for the next one. And then we'd see after we went through, did we go under or over? Because the timer would only show when we crossed the finish line. Hilarious.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for listening. Anybody else have any handicapping ideas or reasons for not using a handicap?
Our lap timer calls out a lap every lap. It announces your time.
And that helps you kind of mediate your driving to go a little bit
how
faster.
close you are, yeah. But we had another system where we get 12 to 16 guys racing on a 3-lane track. You kind of rate every driver from fastest to slowest. And then you take the fastest guy, put him in the middle. The next guy goes above him, the next one below, and you alternate that way.
Mm-hmm.
So that the fastest guys only race fast guys. Slowest guy race the new guys. And always closer, competitive wise.
Yeah, lots of ways to do it. But like like they were saying, you got to have the club on board.
Yeah, well, we try so many different systems.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Fun.
All right. And Mike, you have your virtual hand up. What you got?
Well, what we try to do it before, and this leads back to it, is fueling. We'll just put in a bigger tank for somebody, and sometimes that's enough. And you can tweak that fairly easily, and that makes a difference overall. Because the pit stop, you'll lose 2 laps on our track on the pit stop, generally speaking. So that extra time makes a huge difference, and it'll make up, and it's made things really close for that reason.
Yeah, with digital systems, you have a lot more things that you can play with. Like you said, fuel tank size, fuel burn rate. The way that my digital club races, we use the penalty points for for deslotting for damage, and you got to go repair the damage, and lots of ways to do it, depending on if you're thinking about hey, maybe we can implement some kind of handicapping thing. Don't necessarily just take one of our ideas. Not, I don't encourage you to, but look at what software you're already using. Look at the options in the software, see what you can tweak. Look at the different ways to run a race, whether it's timed or lap limited, time limited, lap limited. Can you start fast guys off at after a certain delay, like I think Luff has described in previous talks, where they'd have the software would make the fast guy wait a number of seconds before he can go, so that everybody finishes more or less at the same time. Stuff like that. Look through the software that you use to see what you can use as a method of handicapping, and then suggest that, hey, let's try this. You never know. If you get them to try it, then you're halfway there. And then if they like it, then maybe that'll become a regular way that you guys race. It's always worth trying if you're interested in doing it. I think we've beaten that subject into the ground for this chat. Do we have anything else that anybody wants to bring up, talk about, ask about, chat about? I had an idea. Dewan's paper models keep reminding me of the Carrera for Fun website. So I think I'll go ahead and share that and show you how to get to the models, because it's not so easy when you don't speak German. Carrera for Fun. Make sure that comes up before I share it. Okay. Okay, so I've mentioned this before, and the URL is Carrera, Carrera, the number 4 fun, FUN.D for Deutschland, and this is the site that I go to for paper models. Well, it's all in German, and we could probably use Google to translate, but I'm not going to do that. I remember that you get to, it shows some examples, but they have a lot of other stuff on this site. I've not explored the entirety of this site. There might be even more useful, cool things. If somebody wants to translate and use their translator and go through this site and find other cool things to share, by all means, please do so. But I know when I'm coming for paper models, I go to this menu over here on the right, and I don't know how to pronounce that, even though I took German in high school. Gebäude and Deco, track buildings and decorations, and then. Does that scroll? I'm going to move that out of the way. I think, yeah, Rila Gabauta. And then basically this right-hand menu just keeps popping open with the sub-menus from those things. So every time you click a different one, it'll open different things, right? So it has different models, both real and fictitious. Like these are just kind of like a little garage, quick and easy. As you can see, you click on the link to the PDF file, and the nice thing about PDFs is they print in the exact scale they need to be. Print that out. I used, well, for one of the things I knew I needed to make it really sturdy. So what I did is I printed these on sticky back paper, like label sheet, except 8.5 by 11 label sheet. And then I stuck that to foam core. So I had a nice sturdy wall that I could put this onto rather than, just paper. But otherwise, if you're just going to have this thing stand alone, it doesn't need to support other things. You print it on cardstock or whatever heavy paper you've got, and then cut it out. And it does. They've got all kinds of different buildings here. I'm just going to kind of scroll and show different buildings. Anybody want to comment or ask anything about these? I've only done a few of them. They're pretty straightforward. It's just cut it out, fold the tabs, glue the tab, to the back of whatever it connects to.
Greg, to your point, I've used they have a McDonald's or a Whack-Donald's, I guess, hamburger hut. That's really kind of cool in there. And I used it and actually used the pattern and built it out of balsa.
I used to make, I did some of these on my original Carrera track as well. And what I used to do is import that PDF into Photoshop, and then you can change things. You could change from German to English, and you can change the colors or move things around and then print them. They were really very nice.
Yeah, this is one of the ones I did, and because this is the one that I did on foam core, because I replaced the score area, the counter area, with an LED lap counter that then hooks to my computer that shows actual lap times and stuff. Yeah,
Do you have any backgrounds like around the edge of my track on the inside is just a 4-inch white wall. I wonder if there's anything I could put like against that to make it look like a
There is a scenery thing in there too.
Is there?
There's
Okay, cool.
Somewhere in there, I remember from ages
All
ago.
right, I'll dig through there.
I downloaded all the containers as well. They were quite handy for the track if you wanted to do all different makes and models. And
I'm gonna do a translate here, see if it helps me out.
There used to be a plugin called like Down Them All, and it would download every link. I guess you could just pull everything off there.
Yeah, there's lots of ways to do that. That's not translating. Let's try that again. Google Translate, detected language. English. That doesn't want to translate. Probably something to do with code.
I think that's the main problem, that complaint that people have about this site, is you can't change the language. It's just German. There's one thing that they do that's in English, and I forget which one it is, but everything else is German.
Yeah, so you got to just kind of.
So you just spend hours.
You just got to spend hours looking and seeing,
downloading,
and once you find something that you want, print it immediately. So you don't have to go digging around for it.
Because you won't remember where it is.
Yeah, exactly. Because oh my god, and spend another hour trying to find it.
That's my problem. I just threw my hands up.
Yeah.
I wonder where Dioraman. Maybe that's.
Yeah, you've got garages, donut shop.
Okay, so those are just decorative buildings.
Kiosks, yeah.
Gastronomy, tribunes. I mean,
It's a funny they don't have a beer hall.
Oh, maybe it's in the gastronomy area here. McCafe.
McCafe.
Oh, beer pavilion. So
at least it teaches you how to speak some German words.
I mean, if you just kind of look at them and read them as if they're English, a lot of times they make sense, right? Coke stand, there you go. Bar Coke. Grill wagon, so that's going to be hot dog stand, yeah, or just a grill. Yeah, perfect, just a grill.
I think the one that says Tribunen, that one has like grandstands and things in it. Yeah.
Yep, there's a simple one. The Kleine Tribune, so small grandstand. Carrera Tribune. Yep, that's the big one that we saw earlier on the front page. Oh no, I went to the front page. Let's try that again.
That first aid station I showed is one of the models there, just printed on regular paper. So.
Oh, 3D. Oh, that's a new section. Oh.
Yeah, if anybody's interested, I have some photos of the ones that I built some years back.
Oh yeah, let me stop that. You're welcome to share those photos anytime.
All right. This was a pit building, I think, or no, this was a tire store originally. And what I did in Photoshop was I just extended it so that it had a number of extra openings. And I cut open the windows and things like that. And then I filled it with all the tool chests and things that they have as well. Oh, hang on, let's go back. Well, sorry. That one is one of their control stands, again, that I cut out the top of. So,
yeah, the diorama one they've got there is the one that everyone uses, which is the garage inside.
There we go.
There.
That was the control panel. I got a little lazy. I could have cut out the lower floor as well, and I didn't, but I should have. That's one of my own. I think that's about it. Yeah. But they come out pretty well when you're done, and those were all printed and then stuck onto foam board, the same way that Greg was talking about, so that I didn't fold the corners and glue them together. I just stuck them onto foam board.
Yep. Yeah, great resource, and it's all free. Just take a little bit of extra canoodling to find what you're looking for. And like I said, once you find it, go ahead and print it. You don't have to build it right away, but if you don't print it, you're probably going to have to go through that whole process all over again. And we've got plenty of time. Does anybody have anything they want to bring up or ask about or talk about, or should I dig into my topic of things that is very, very small these days?
I guess you finished all the shows and tells before I got here, right?
Yeah, we did, but if you have one, go ahead.
Oh, just the latest white kit from Sideways.
Oh, Gaz's trying to share things.
Oh, sorry.
No worries. So that's the Sideways what?
The Sideways Mclaren 720. The body is basically three pieces. There's a nose section that fits on the front and a tail section that will do it. So that's pretty much what it's going to look like.
Now 4 pieces.
Very flat interior.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. And then the chassis is basically the same Sideways GT3 chassis that we've been seeing lately. Excuse me, with a nice stiff motor pod with that 17,000 RPM motor that they like to use. So this should be a really good performer. What I do notice about it is it comes with really nice tires straight away. It's the Sideways 22 Shore tire that they've put in the kit. So certainly for my track, I won't need to think about anything as an upgrade on the rear tires. They are the air system wheels, so they'll get a little piece of foam inside them, and then they'll go from there. So yeah, that's the latest.
I don't have any of their GT cars. What would you compare those tires to as far as slotted or NSR tires?
Slotted in 1171 or 1172 N22s.
Okay.
Or they're probably not quite an ultra grip, but they're a little grippier than a super grip.
Plenty of grip.
Yeah, plenty of grip. They'll be really nice.
Awesome. Well, I think probably EMSA is going to be racing those soon. Like you said, it sounds like they're getting a good variety of cars in that class. Yeah, so that might be coming up soon.
Yeah, that's going to be all I've got to decide now is how I'm going to paint it.
Well, if I get one, it's going to be blue and yellow.
Blue and yellow, yeah, I know that. I'm wondering whether I could get away with just the McLaren orange, but maybe I'll have to do something a little different.
Yeah, put a blue stripe on it and call it a reverse Golf.
A reverse Golf, yeah, that's possible.
Gazzy, you want to try the photo share again?
Oh, I'll try it. Yeah,
you're good at sharing the folder, but you need to share the picture, not the folder.
Yeah, I know. I'll get there in a second.
Post everything except for the picture.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
You can't go wrong.
As long as you open the picture first, you should be fine.
That's usually the trick. Open the picture first.
Where are we? I can't even get the zoom up. Oh, here we are. Got that?
There we go. Yeah.
Okay.
Print?
Yeah. So anyway, got the old Scalextric control tower. So I decided I'm just playing around here. I'm sick and tired of building cars and all that sort of stuff. I've got that many bodies there that I'll be building cars for the next 30 years. So I thought, as I'm going to be building a new track when I move, so I might decide on doing some scenery side of it. So build up the two, both in separate layers. They click on top of each other, same as the old Scalextric one. Got the ladders and everything else on it, and painted up.
Nice.
Started to look all right. Put a little viewing platform. Found a place there with the original speakers you could download and print from, so that they fitted the old buildings if you want to do some retro stuff on the buildings. Printed out the little signage and all that. I decided to go 3 high and went a bit overboard with the control tower, I think, but it's dragged screaming into the 21st, 22nd century there with satellites instead of the old system. So yeah, 2 to 3 different levels, different platforms and everything else. Ladders
Pretty
and
cool.
handrails.
Did you just measure and build up the drawing from measurements, or did you scan it?
It's the original Scalextric one isn't actually square. It's almost rectangular, but it's only fractionally smaller at length width wise. But I made this one square, so I think it's, from memory, it's 85 millimeters by 85 millimeters or whatever it is. So the system all sits on top of each other. The sides are all made and
very cool.
Glued together. I made shelves. You'll see in on one of the inside shots there, there's shelving and all that sort of stuff on the inside. There's floors on each level, so if you want to put figures and that in it, and yeah, it didn't turn out too bad. So I got a bit carried away with that, and I thought, then I went over and this is another one. This is actually HO scale, which I've expanded out to 32nd scale and printed out as well with it's still a work in progress. The chimneys have got to be painted and whatnot. But
sorry, does that door open there, Gary?
no, it doesn't. It's just I jammed it in there, and that's as far as it got. So I haven't stuck it in just yet. But it looks like it is.
Yeah.
But the doors are all separate. The windows all fit into place. The front veranda there's all separate, and same with the supports. The only problem was when I expanded it, I had to cut the veranda platform off on Tinkercad, because the whole lot was in one piece. I could have cut it down to make it in sections, but I end up printing out the whole walls and everything else in one section. But I had to cut the veranda off because it was wouldn't fit on the platform. So as it is, on the end of platform there's about 10 mil all the way around that it just fits on there. So it just gets on the platform. Takes ages to print, and did the windmill. So it's going to be an outback soon on a rally track that I'll be building.
I was just going to say, this is so outback.
Yeah. So on the new rally track, when I move and rebuild another one, I'll have an outback theme there somewhere, and yeah, kangaroos running through the paddock, of course, and all the things. So yeah, I've got to build a support for the water tower, for the water tank off the side, put some drainage on there, and make it a little bit more realistic. But yeah, a bit of weathering on the building. So yeah, it's but I found all these on a HO railway site, and some of the stuff there that even though it's miniature, when you expand it out, it quite fit. The water tanks are HO, and the windmill I think was 32nd, There is also 30-second railway stuff as well. There's on Thingiverse. If you go on there, there's a lot of 30-second scale railway, and I have printed out another one with a full loco, which is 30-second scale, and you get the tracks and everything else. You can print all them, and which looks quite effective. So they'll be on the other end of the track somewhere.
Anyone else reminded of Bathurst?
Bathurst.
Mm.
Oh, that's yeah. But yeah, they come out all right, those things.
Those look great.
I think I can, now that I've found out how to do that, you're in trouble.
Hey, just remember it for next time.
Oh, yeah.
You got your hand up, Luff. What's on your mind?
When we had the Nürburgring track, I made a bunch of buildings. I don't know how to.
Did you already open the picture somewhere else on your computer?
Yeah.
And then go back to Zoom, click share, then click the picture in your pop-up window, and then click share again. Looks like you got it. There we go. Yeah.
I made it all out of plexiglass, and then painted it.
Are you cutting that by hand or laser cutting it?
Sorry?
Did you laser cut that plexiglass, or you hand cut it?
I did it the hard way.
Okay.
And this is from a Nürburgring book. And then after that, I did the garage.
Yeah. You've been working with plexiglass for a good long time, though, haven't you, Luff?
Yeah. That's what it ended up like. I built, that's all plexiglass, the overpass. Somewhere I got a picture of the real one. Anyway.
Oh, good stuff.
How do I get out of this?
Click end share down at the bottom.
That's amazing work considering you did it the old-fashioned way, like cutting it by hand. It's really nice.
Yeah, Luff knows his plexiglass, that's for sure. Awesome.
Well, it goes together really fast, and it's free.
Free to you. Offcuts from various other plexiglass related.
Yeah, I was gonna say, where are you getting free plexiglass? I could use some of that.
Yeah. No, it's just offcuts. You never throw anything out.
Yeah, didn't have a business for doing plexiglass or something like that of some sort?
All my life.
Yeah, so yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I do laser cutting. I have a laser cutter behind me with plexiglass, usually, right? That orange one.
Nice.
I've got
plexiglass is so expensive right now. It's like I haven't done anything in a while.
I've
Since
got
the pandemic.
a little vinyl cutter. It'll cut up to 2 millimeter balsa wood. And it was $200.
Cool. Well, I did have a thing that I can bring up for the last 20 minutes here. People's favorite cleaning procedures for your track before a race. So what kind of track do you have, and what kind of cleaning procedures do you do? Meaning, dirty or dusty or whatever track, and getting it into race condition. Go ahead, Gaza.
Yeah, very simple. My track's just a routed 3-lane wooden track, obviously. It's got a coat of polyurethane or almost very light coat over the top of the original Ferrador, and it's just the Ferrador is way too abrasive. It's just like I'm running on 2,000 sandpaper. If you come off, it just rips everything apart. So put a clear coat over the top of it, and basically bit of soapy water on a bit of rag, just a little bit. Wipe it all down with the soapy water. Might wipe it down with a bit of wet, damp rag, and you just run the cars up on. Have a little bit of a soapy rag there. Run the rear wheels up on a little bit of soft liquid soap on the rag there, and just drive the cars around. The cars will make their own drive line through there. They'll clean whatever else on there. And the good thing about the old slotted controllers is you can put them on auto, and I can get at least 2 lanes going around like that. And the other third one, I can do some testing and all that. And after a while there, you've got a nice driving line, and it takes no time to clean it. But basically, you put a, if you can, I've got mine's roughly about 19 foot long and about 5 foot wide, what's in the background there. And I've got a big plastic sheet that I just lay over the top of it when not in use, and just roll that off. So it keeps a lot of the dust off it after I vacuum, and then just use the soapy water, and it comes up no problem.
And what kind of room is it in? Is it in a shed that gets a lot dusty, or is it?
No, it's in a garage out the back there, and there's a bit of dust gets in there from time. Plus, all when the wind's blowing there, it's not 100% sealed over the roof there, so you get a lot of wind blowing up underneath the awnings and all that. You get a lot of dust and some leaves and crap will get over there. Plus the cat likes to play on it as well. So yeah.
The other question was
bring toys in for you. Yeah.
The other question I had was, what kind of rail do you have? Is it copper tape or braid?
It's braid, all braid. Yeah. No, I tried copper tape, and the weather's so extreme over here, like 45, 50 degrees in the shed there. Summertimes there, that copper tape just peels off. It
peels right up. Yeah.
You're driving along and wonder why the car's stopping. You find half the copper tape's rolled up around underneath the car there. So yeah, so it's just braid. It's the only way to go.
Yeah, for most of the tracks in my club, the analog club is getting to be more wood than plastic now, but generally most of the guys will use a Swiffer, a dry Swiffer duster, to just run over the whole track and pick up any dry dust or debris. If it's been a long time, then or they're worried that things have fallen, or they have cats and the cats have been over the track. Most of the guys don't throw cover over it, but they'll take a vacuum to it, and then they'll Swiffer dust it, and then if it's really bad, they'll do the damp rag. I don't think anybody uses any washing fluid, on the rag, but just a damp rag to help pick up any dust that wasn't loose enough to be picked up by the vacuum or the Swiffer. And then it's all up to the car tires, so practice is all about, the track should be cleanish, but then the tires always pick up something. And then, so you're cleaning your tires with, water.
Vacuuming's a given. That's sort of one of the first things you do. A lot of dust and crap gets on there, but the liquid soap, that's very minimal on a damp
just rag. A drop. Yeah,
and it just wipe it up and down there. Just clean. Amazed the amount of crap that'll come off it, and just running a car and cleaning the tires every couple of times. A little bit, or even just a little bit of water on your finger, just rubbing it across the tires and put the car back on again, and it'll eventually it just makes its own driving line and cleans the track.
You'll see me. Go ahead, John.
I was going to say, do you do anything special for the braids on your track or the rails?
Do I use anything to clean them?
Yeah, anything particular?
Sometimes a bit of inox on the braids themselves on the car, and you run that around, and it'll pick up crap and everything else, and you use a little soft wire brush, cleans that off there, a bit of inox, and just a rag just wipes and keeps them clean. And again, when you're doing the track itself, you sort of run around it, and you can go over the top of the braid itself with the rag, and that'll keep it clean in the same direction you're driving, obviously. So, and then
one of the things that I did for my track here on my driver stations is I put a powered slot with a little on-off switch, and then a little tray to hold a wet piece of chamois. And so I'll wet those down. So when the guys come over and they're cleaning up the track with their cars, they just gotta pick it up, put it in, go, and then they put it back on the track, do a little wheel spin to get the wetness off the tires, and then away they go, cleaning the track somewhere.
I got a similar setup on the workbench round behind, on the other side of where I am there, and it's got a run-up board there with some bit of sandpaper if you want to use it, and also the wet rag, and you just run that up, and you can get it all clean and all that.
Most of the time,
generally with the coating that's on there, I don't worry too much about it. If you want to just put a slightly damp cloth on the track itself, run the car up on the wet thing, and then just keep going. That's fine because you wipe it straight off again. So
yeah, and yeah, we do that on the plastic tracks quite a bit. You know, a wet rag or a sponge or something. But half the time you'll catch me picking up my car, licking my thumbs, and then scrubbing.
You get the guys there, the tire lickers as well. They get the tire.
No, they'll lick the actual tire.
Yeah, and spin them around. Yeah. Love the taste of rubber. Yeah. But none of the tracks we run out that I run over here are plastic. So in the local area that I'm in, there, all of them are routed. Yeah. And there'd be 8 or 9 tracks all routed, all home tracks.
What about you, Dennis?
Well, here on my track, again, it's like it stands outside. So I always start with a shop vac and vacuum the whole thing. I use one of those California dusters, those car dusters, the ones with all the little red microfiber. I don't know whether they're microfiber, but like little bits of rope, like a mop. Try that. Then what I do is I have this, which I made up a little while back. It's a roller, right? But it's a roller that's made with silicone tires. There's a whole bunch of super tires, the ones that have no flange or no, they're for the flangeless wheels on super tires, flat tires. And I'll run that along the track. And then I have a little paddle that I put masking tape on with the adhesive on the outside, and then you rub it on there, and that'll get rid of whatever's on here, and then roll this across the track, and that picks up whatever the shop vac didn't pick up. So that actually works quite well. I tried one of those silicone lint rollers that you buy, and they are so sticky that it started to pull the wood filler out where I had screws, where I had put it covered over the countersunk screws. So that wasn't so good. And then for the braid, because my track's braided, probably once every 6 or 10 times, maybe 10 times that I run the track, I'll actually get out there with a rag and on my finger, just with a little bit of lighter fluid or something like that, and actually physically clean the braid on the track with the lighter fuel. And that gets rid of any of the rubber that builds up on the braid.
Tell you what, Greg, I think that now that we're getting a bit closer to the end of this Shark Tail project as a group project, something I've been thinking about for a while is a vehicle that can be just left on autopilot running around a track, just cleaning the track up, just vacuuming the track, scrubbing the braid, just taking some tape and just dragging it along for all of the lanes.
I got a great idea. We can make a Chaparral 2J that really works.
Yeah, and that looks like a Zamboni, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's lots of products on the market.
John, there's a job for you, John.
Oh, perfect.
Another one on the list.
Does anybody use Inox or Inox on their braids? Or
Ray does. Ray said that he uses Inox. Yeah.
Yeah, and Gary said Inox. That's how he pronounces it. I use that stuff all the time for the rails. Somebody said they use it for the track surface, and it gave them better. No, I have not tested that. Alan, what were you going to say? That's the stuff.
I use this at Mascot Wood because it's allowed, because it's a rubber. We use rubber tires, and it's a Ninco track. This is forbidden at London Slip Car because it's an oil. And the intention is to keep the track surface completely free of oils. So we don't allow anything like this on the braids or on the cars or anything. In fact, even the contracts are supposed to be run dry. So, this does work. It works really well. But you're running urethanes, it can undermine your track, and it can leave a nasty black residue on your rails.
Well, the interesting thing is that, if I went out to my track right now and took a rag to it, the rag would be black.
Yeah.
But it runs like butter. So I stopped caring about the residue a long time ago because it doesn't affect traction. My cars still have great traction. The rails don't look black, but if you go run something, back and forth on it, you'll see, the residue. But it runs great. So, I'm not, you don't mess with perfection.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And you're saying, let's do a car or something that you can run around, have run around. I mean, that's what at least one or more of the guys in my club does is he'll turn his variable polisher plat all the way down, or he'll do the rubber band on a controller trigger, just so that it's, just going enough for the car to go around slowly so it doesn't come off. And there are products that are products on the market to either stick in front of or behind a slot car that have a weight that then helps scrub off things, dust and whatnot on the track. I've seen cars with the built-in, it's like a chassis but with like a weighted squishy thing that is meant to do the same thing, that it basically just wipes the track as you're running it. And there's lots of ideas out there, printable, purchasable, depends on what you want. When Dennis was showing his thing, I'm like, really, you're actually intentionally using silicone tires on your track but they'll pick up anything, won't they?
They pick it up. That's why I used them. Yep, they pick it up. Fortunately, it seems on my track they pick up the dirt and the dust, but they don't pick up the rubber that's on the track.
Well, you're also you're not running them on a car. You're just kind of going over
I'm just rolling it across the surface. I'm not putting any real sideways pressure on them and things like that. So yeah, it works pretty well. It's not quite as much fun as running a car with silicone tires and then cleaning the tires and then running the car and cleaning the tire, but it takes a lot less time.
And a tangent question to that was cleaning your tires, lint rollers versus tape versus alcohol versus water solutions and things like that. Obviously, that depends on the tires.
But I think the experience I've found, certainly watching what's happening these days at Electric Dreams with guys running a lot, you get to a point where tires start building up some sort of crud that will not come off with tape. And so eventually you have to clean them with a solvent of some sort, and then you can go back to the tape again. But I've noticed that, and I've noticed that with proxy cars coming here. The rubber tires that have been running somewhere and they've run 3 or 4 races before mine, and then the things are all crusted up and you put them across tape, it does nothing. You have to actually use some lighter fluid or some sort of solvent to get that stuff off.
What about urethane? Sorry, what about urethanes, Dennis?
With urethanes, you don't use the well, I guess with urethanes they do gum up like that a little, not as badly. You can clean that stuff off with lighter fluid, but the lighter fluid doesn't actually affect the urethane at all, whereas the lighter fluid makes the rubber a little sticky. But if you clean urethanes with isopropyl alcohol, that makes them sticky, the same way as the lighter fluid does with the rubber.
Ooh,
and that's always a nice little trick to know, Clean them with isopropyl alcohol if you're struggling for a little bit of grip on urethanes. Or if you're trying to polish them, when you finish grinding them and you want to polish the black back, as Tony Kuldis used to say, then that's what you need to use.
At Far Out, almost all the tracks have some type of lint roller. I just go down to the dollar store and pick up a half a dozen or a dozen of them, and I have them forever. And they seem to work pretty well when you're racing. But like Dennis was saying, a lot of my rubber tires you have to clean them with something.
Or you have to put them back on your tire grinder and just grind lick the outside off again. Yeah.
Exactly.
For urethanes, what I found is a domestic degreaser is the best way. I mean, the 2 domestic degreasers that work really well. One is called Mr. Muscle, and it's a kitchen surface degreaser, and that will rip the oil right off the surface of the tire and clean it up.
That's made for ovens too, isn't it?
Window lean. Window lean is meant for windows, to clean windows. It's again, these are domestic degreasers, so they're not permeating the tire surface at all. You're just stripping all the debris and rubbish off the urethane tires, and they're a better industrial degreasers. But I don't really want to advocate those because those kind of things are strictly outdoor use only. And if you get them on the plastic of your car or the track, it's going to damage the strength and integrity of the track.
So Alan, Windoline is like Windex, right? It's ammonia based?
Yeah, Windex, I believe it's called in the US. Yeah.
Right.
And so that's the stuff.
That Mr. Muscle, I think they also, that's a oven cleaner, isn't it?
No, that's Easy Off. I think Mr. Muscle is more like Mr. Clean, isn't it?
I was thinking it's like Simple Green.
I think a mix of names. I have Mr. Muscle over here. I think they do make an oven cleaner and something like that you can do for household. It'll clean anything virtually in the house, around the stove and everything.
You can use that to strip the paint off the body, but
exactly. If you too bad if you didn't want it white, because that's the color it's going to be, because it's just that's it.
Mr. Muscle oven cleaner is a white foaming caustic solution that we do get in the UK, but that's not the Mr. Muscle product that Alan's referring to. It's another one from their range, I'm sure.
Okay.
How would you describe the chemical as it comes out of the bottle? Like
clear. It's clear and it's wet and drippy. It's not an aerosol. It's not foamy. In fact, the best ones do seem to be like that Windex, Windoline, Mr. Muscle, clear, non-foamy, and just you drip it on. You can run it over the tires with a cotton bud, and that it does the job.
Yeah.
Well, Windex was always.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say Windex was always promoted as the end all and be all in the Greek wedding movie, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was the cure
right.
for everything.
For everything. That's right.
Yeah.
got an infection. Here,
so now, there you go. Now it's good for slot cars.
Exactly. But yeah, the Easy Off oven cleaner is really good if you ever want to strip like chrome stuff off pieces. Oh my gosh, it works great.
I've got a friend that does commercial events, and he often does those outdoors under a gazebo in car parks, fields, venues, motor racing circuits, for example. And he regularly has to go around his track and debris the Scale Electric Sport track. And he advocates and swears by just the use of a squirted WD-40 onto a microfiber towel. And not only does that pick up dust, but it also returns some blackness to the track, and it actually enhances the grip for the following competitors. So when he runs the day and he's got his scoreboard with the fastest laps of the day, he always tends to find that those fast laps get put down shortly after the track gets cleaned, about, either very early in the morning when the track is cool, or sometimes when it gets warmer in the lunchtime periods, he'll clean the track again. And in the early afternoon when he reopens, that's when the fast laps for the day get put down, just after the WD-40.
Do you know what kind of tires he uses?
All sorts of Scale Electric stock rubber. Yeah. He has tried it. It does work as a tire additive to a small extent, but it's really messy to apply. You don't want to be spraying anything into your tires and wheels. Well, you'll get that everywhere.
Funny you should say that, but a few years ago, Maurizio, Mr. Slotted himself, was out here in Australia, in Sydney, and he was at Armchair doing a promo thing, and we were all over there and having a talk and whatnot, and one thing led to another. We ended up having a big race on Jim's track that he had at the time there. I think it was a Carrera track, I'm not sure, big plastic thing, and Maurizio's up there and he's driving his cars around, and while we're getting ready, and so he goes back over into Jim's little workshop and out with the can of WD-40, and he's on the tires and on everything he could get on there, put it back on the track, and he's running around, finally got it up there. So he was quite happy to use our WD-40 on his components. So I think we ran out of WD-40 that day because everyone was copying him.
You just get nervous about build up on your rails and causing potential connectivity issues and things like that. So I don't know. It certainly has no adverse effect for over the long period, but you certainly can go back with a cleaner after the WD-40.
As long as it doesn't stay there, as long as if you squirt it on or use it and wipe it off again, it's good. It's perfect for cleaning. But some people just spray it on and leave it, like puddles driving through there. Like, yeah.
Pretty much any caustic fluid standing around is going to do damage.
Yeah.
Depending on how long it's there. We're at our 2 hours. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. As always, come to a live chat. It's a whole lot of fun. Contribute, ask, whatever, and we will see you in 2 weeks. Bye.
Bye.